Greetings, gracefully ascending masters. Thank you for joining us today for Are You Listening? A monthly roundtable discussing all things spiritual consciousness, the metaphysical, the unknown, and begs the question, are you hearing the messages that you receive? I'm Beth SoulFire, and with me is Susan Walter and Amber Celestial Angel. So before we get started, some introductions. Susan, take it away.
Thank you. Okay. I'm a visionary artist, intuitive visionary artist, and I had near-death experiences as a small child where I was given the ability to see into the angelic realms, allowing me to see the angels in their pure light form. And I use this ability to draw your personal angel portraits and receive messages and insights from your angels. And I have also created the Solfeggio Mandala activation guide and meditation decks, which assist us in realigning to our original blueprint. I also create healing art with a conscious heart with the intention of connecting us with the divine and to assist humanity to do the same. Amber, please tell us more about you.
I'm Amber Celestial Angel, a certified angel intuitive practitioner, angelic life coach, divine mother archetype, and animal communication guide. I work with the divine angels, archangels, in all of my practices, and a regular conduit for Mother Mary, channeler and teacher and host of podcast Motherly Love and coursework Heart of Mother's Purpose for moms. I've always been a medium, but didn't let many people know about it. It was during my near-death experience in 2018 that I was told to come out and share my gifts and grow. Many things revealed at that time. Family is very important, connection and community with each other. I was also shown the angelic realm and God's light of love. So beautiful and bright, full of love, and wondrous joy and love felt within that place that I refer to as heaven. God's presence, heaven. I was sent back to share this feeling with all and to bring what I call heaven to earth within all hearts and homes and help you stay the path of love and beauty and walk the path of love and truth, light. So Beth.
Thank you. Well, my name is Beth SoulFire, and I'm a shaman, an intuitive alchemist, a teacher, and a holistic life guide. And I came to know the truth of our living light consciousness after a severe and sudden near-death experience, completed my initiation as a shaman. And I went on this walk through what is known as SoulFire, and that's the spiritual name that I was given during this near-death experience that I had, and this calling that I have, which we're probably going to talk about a little bit today. But I was connected during that time. I actually went back to that space, right, of the oneness, which is really difficult to talk about in human language. But we're all a part of that oneness. So I use every bit of my experience and my training in the intuitive arts, shamanic energy medicine. I'm a Reiki master. I do beyond quantum healing and other medicine modalities that I've learned over the years. I've been in the alternative healthcare industry for 22 years now. So even though not all of those things are things I still employ, for example, from my massage therapy years, but I use energy healing aspects of them all. And so I really like to connect with people to help them heal deeply from trauma, to deprogram old ways of being and belief systems that aren't serving them, so that they can be placed on their higher path of purpose and find their golden path and live the best life that they can live on this planet, the life maybe even that they were meant to live, the reason why they chose to come here, if you will. And so one of the things that's really close to my heart is teaching people about spiritual sovereignty, what that is, how to connect with that, and to ultimately merge with oneness and understand your place in the universe and the cosmos. And so you can learn a little bit more about me at my website, BethSoulFire.com. And of course, you can find me on YouTube at Beth SoulFire Alchemy. But all the things that bring Susan and Amber and I together, we all met through a roundtable on near-death experience, which we all share, that Laura Eisenhower did just a little while ago. On that, in the links in the show more section, we'll put that in there so you can go watch that if you want to. And we decided through that interview to team up and to bring in this monthly roundtable called Are You Listening? Because we all work with our own spirit team and angels and guides and ancestors. And because this is sort of something that's in our wheelhouse, and we've got some experience and a little bit of wisdom to share, and we know how to ask you critical thinking questions to help you come to your own realizations about this sort of stuff and help with your discernment and things like that. So we decided to bring this to you. So thank you for being here today. And we're starting our conversation today on your mission in life, right? And how to find that mission by discussing how we found our mission. So with that, we will kind of give it a go and tell you a little bit how we each found out, kind of found our way to our golden path, as I like to refer to it, or, you know, the path that we're on that feels like our highest truest calling, the reason why I decided to come here. So anybody who wants to chime in, please feel free, because I'm tired of listening to myself self-talk for just a second. I'll let you guys kind of start in, and we'll just have a good conversation about the mission and how we got called.
Why don't you go ahead, Amber?
Oh, I'll start. Okay. All right. Well, my really push and shove was my near-death experience. That's what really pushed me into starting to understand and bring forth what I was meant to do. So I was always, you know, I was always different as a child. I was, I had dreams and could hear things and communicate. Well, I didn't really communicate, I guess, just more so heard things, felt things. And, but I was really shunned from it. I was told, you know, negative things about it. So I just stopped doing it. I stopped talking about it, really. I mean, the dreams didn't stop, but I stopped telling people about it. And so pretty much just tuned it out, you know. And then as I got older, when I was a teenager, then I told more people about it. You know, I was more comfortable about it, but I didn't still really understand or know what it was or know anything about it. So then when I had my first son, so I was 22, 23, about almost 23. And then I shut it off again. You know, pretty much I was just like, I don't know what any of this is. So I'm just gonna shut it off and not tell anybody. Not, you know, you have partners and people you're with, even your family, and some of mine knew a little bit of what I went through, but not much of it. I pretty much kept most of it to myself. And then when I was pregnant with my second son, and that was like 6 years later. So it was in 2017. Well, I was pregnant in 2016. So during that time, I started receiving messages like crazy. So I just write, you know, automatic writing. That's when I picked up that skill. I just started writing down these messages that I would receive. And so he was like my antenna, you know, tuner to get me, you know, I've been told and found out that he's like very connected as well. So I like couldn't shut it off. It was just wasn't happening. So I was able to share with my partner now, and he, you know, helped me interpret things, like understand what messages were coming through, because my messages are like, you know, olden day Bible type style, and sometimes I don't even understand. So I've got to articulate it and kind of decipher, but I guess you can ask them to tell you it in a different way, but I'm okay with it, so I let it be. But So yes, I was receiving and writing it down, trying to interpret it, and I didn't really, it was very much so Mother Mary and Archangel Michael were my very first contacts that started coming through. And so that's who really I resonate with and have since pretty much mostly worked with. And so I didn't know sometimes some of these names that were coming through, so I had to look and find out who, and then that's when I really started developing my discernment more, trying to realize, okay, you know, who's who, what's this here. So that was the beginning of helping me get into that part. Then I got pregnant pretty fast with my other son after. They're only about a year and 2 months apart. So that pregnancy was a lot different. I was very depressed and I was very, not very healthy, just didn't feel good, didn't feel right. And I do say, I'm pretty sure I had preeclampsia during that time, but the doctor just kept saying, oh, it's okay, you're fine. You're fine. So I felt something wrong, but oh well now. So going forward, I ended up having postpartum preeclampsia, which, you know, the cure is having the baby. So when you have postpartum, it's a 99% death rate. I mean, most of the time people end up passing. But I guess I got lucky and I went through what I did. My near-death experience, and there is probably where, so my mission, you know, it starts a long time ago, but the near-death experience is what opened me up to all the things that I needed to know and relay and understand to actually start it. So I guess technically that was my, in a way, dark night of the soul, like, but just in a different way. And it progressed from there, because after that I had to go through even more. So then Mother Mary was very present with me then, and during that time I feel like she really, it's almost, I want to call it a gift. I don't know, like a gift of embodying and owning that it's okay to be a divine mother archetype, because I am. I carry the energy from her. And so I didn't quite understand what it meant for a while. After this, I got a mentor to understand about angels. I knew nothing about angels, nothing about any of this stuff really. So I got a mentor and learned a lot there, learned a lot of things in that process. Very high discernment, I feel like, also came when I had my near-death experience. I feel like I was just a lot more protected and guided, and my feelings really enhanced. Like I was definitely able to tell a difference a lot more. So with that, yes, where was I? So my mentor helped. Really, I had to start healing a lot of other things, you know, kind of getting over, you know, past things that happened, and did a lot of healing work there. You know, my mother wasn't the greatest, so me embodying the mother was like, I had to learn that in a way. And I had Mother Mary as a guide, and I'm very thankful, but it took a lot of like real life understanding and learning how to embody that, and helped me grow like as a parent, as a mother, and stepping into that role to my fullest. And even within that, just tweaking little things like your mindset, you know, like being more positive, and I call it living in the vibration of love, in which it's taken, you know, a little while to fully get there, but just the little mindset tweaks of bringing you back to the positivity, like always trying to see the best in things, trying to to make the best out of everything, blessings in disguise, you know, that even when negative things might happen or bad, whatever we foresee them as, that there's still always a blessing and lesson to be learned. So even after my near-death experience, that even taught me, like I could have been upset at God or whatever, you know, whatever thing, because I almost died, you know, but instead I felt like thank you, very thankful. So learning gratitude and being thankful for every day we have here and trying to make the best out of it, and connection with each other, because that's what's really important, the connection and sharing with each other and supporting each other, and physical touch as well. Like we get to experience that here. And I feel like so blessed now. I didn't want kids. I really saw myself as not going to have kids. So then when I ended up having kids, it's like I took on this huge, and every time it just grew stronger and stronger, huge role, and finally stepped into my mission, who I'm supposed to be. You know, I'm for mothers, you know. I am definitely all about helping moms heal, to get into their purpose potential. I'm a healer all around for everybody, you know, helping get past that with the divine compassion, mother compassion, you know, that all the mother traits, you know, compassionate, but teaching, understanding, but stern when need be, you know. I mean, I've been able to fully step into that truth of who I am, and that experience helped me, along with learning those, you know, mindfulness, gratefulness, true embodiment, and owning this is me. And so that's that's how I pretty much became, and I still am learning as I go. I feel like I always pick up more things and remember more things. And but that's the big gist of how I am who I am, and finally owned and stepped into and started sharing, because that was a big thing too. They said we need to step into and share who we are, because I mean, that's how we end up awakening and everybody living in their purpose and path. And it's like trading, you know, or it's like sharing and trading, that you're better at this and I may be better at that, but we all help each other. And it's like, you know, a synchronous, or a, what's that word?
Synchronicity.
Yes. So that's,
Can I ask a couple questions?
yes.
Were there any classes that you chose to take that helped you on your journey as well, or any books or anything like that was a big catalyst for you?
Yeah, so mine was with my mentorship, and I was with this lady for a while. She did meditations like monthly. So I did those. That I started meditating. You know, I had never really meditated before. I mean, I guess when I would go into my automatic writing, but it was different. You know, my meditations, she did visionary meditations. I would just get words before this and like talking and feeling. But I did develop a visionary doing her meditations. So I was shown a lot more stories, and now I can see a lot of things from that. I read a couple books on angels to learn more about angels, as well as from her, but she'd been doing it for a while. She's like, knows a lot about the angels. So, but she had me like as being a student, I had to read books and do so many card readings with people, and kind of do psychometry stuff, and develop my skills better, you know. So because I also would just, as soon as I got out of my near-death experience, and was able to like getting messages, I'd just go around telling people these messages that I got, like, oh, your grandma says this or that. And I'm like, you know, I didn't realize that at first, but then as I got a mentor, she's like, well, you kind of like, sometimes you probably don't want to do that. Like, don't just get into people's energy, you know, you need to invite. So now I turn it off now, like I did, but it's by choice, because I feel like now it's more like I don't want to just get into somebody's energy without permission. That just, you know, there's certain things, you know. So learning all this was, I mean, I had to learn all of that, fine-tuning skills and learning to turn off certain times and when was appropriate, when was not, and meditation, yeah, that helped. So yeah.
Well, I guess I'll go next, since I put you on the spot. Um, I know after, you know, because I had near-death experiences at a much younger age. Mine were literally at 4 and 6. And after, you know, being able to see the angels then just like all the time after those experiences. And I know I was just, and I had very, very vivid dreams at the time. And at the dinner table, I'd talk about my dreams. And after a while, my parents kind of got quit telling those stories. And just the words that were used and the way it was said at the time were very demeaning. So I just quit talking about it. I didn't quit experiencing those things at the time, but I just didn't tell anybody about it anymore. And then when I was probably about 11, my grandmother McGregor, who a few of you will probably understand this, her maiden name was Saint Clair, and the associations with that, but she started teaching me things and letting me borrow some of her books. And I was particularly interested just in reading some of the basic books about different faiths. And I think to this day, my parents probably don't know that my grandmother would loan me her books. And yeah, and my sister and I would stay with her for a couple of weeks every summer. And she would tell me things about the family history, and things like that, which intrigued me, but at the same time, at that particular time, really didn't fit into the life I was being brought up in. So, you know, we were, you know, in the Lutheran Missouri Synod faith, and we were one of those families. You were practically on your deathbed if you missed church on Sunday. And
Yep.
I'm sure, yeah. I figured at least one of you could relate to that, not both of you, but yeah, and then it was just, you know, particularly as I went through my teenage years, my first marriage where I had my first 2 boys, it was one of those things. I continued to see all the things. I continued to see the angels. I continued to see, and something I don't talk about a lot is when I see it in meditation, and I also will see it sometimes when I'm in a really, really dark room. I see all these energy grids and patterns.
Yeah.
And so, you know, and then when I, you know, later moved in my mid-20s, I moved to the Kansas City area where I still live today, married again and had 2 more children. And then, you know, around 92, a friend of mine introduced me to the work of a man by the name of Drunvalo Melchizedek. And that just kind of woke up all these things for me, where and I was introduced to some other people that were also, you know, were seers and, you know, saw different things. So it gave me some people that I could talk to about it again, and they continued to introduce me to different books and things that I should read, and things like that. And at the time, I started then drawing particularly the energy patterns that I was seeing in meditation and things. And I did that for probably about 3 years. But, you know, it was all, you know, sacred geometry. So it was a lot of, yeah, very, very straight lines, being very, very precise, using a protractor. And yes, some people actually continue to use algebra after high school. And then, yeah, after about 3 years of doing, you know, trying to draw that, was when I had the experience of noticing I wasn't just seeing my own angels, I was seeing everybody else's as well. And so, yeah, I'd been doing these very precise drawings, but now I'm being asked to draw or find a way to portray something that was very, very fluid. So it was, yeah, learning how to draw freehand was totally different. Yeah, and I started out, you know, using pastels, and those were, if anybody's used pastels, particularly to a newbie, they're very clunky. You know, because, you know, some of them are this big around.
Yeah.
Yeah. So after, it didn't take me long that I switched from using pastels to using color pencils. But yeah, and you know, I kind of fought the whole thing of, you know, of drawing it and actually sharing it with people for about 6 months. But it seemed like there was just, as I talk to people, I just get pushed into situations where, yeah, and being put on the spot going, we want you to do this. Can you do this for me? And I just couldn't argue with that, you know, any longer. You know, being put on the spot like that. And it's like, even, you know, with, and that's continued to be kind of the way different things have been brought forth for me, like even doing the mandalas with the Solfeggio frequencies. Somebody, yeah, I was just playing with mandalas just because it was fun and it was something different. I really wasn't sharing them with people, but somebody saw them, and he was doing a workshop on Solfeggio frequencies, and he's got, you know, and I've created, and he had created music for them, and he was, here, just listen to this music and see what comes out. And these much more elaborate mandalas than I had been creating before it came out. And yeah, and he actually only spoke about 6 of the Solfeggio frequencies, you know, 6 of the earthly frequencies. And I started doing research and found out there wasn't just 6, there was actually 81. I had no idea I was getting pushed into doing a 7-year project of doing 81 different mandalas.
Wow.
It's just, yeah, it's just, it seems like, you know, it's just, situation after situation happens where it's almost, I get pushed into it. Yeah, even, yeah, now that I do what I call soul growth readings with the meditation decks that I've created from these mandalas. You know, I was at, you know, a fair that I've done for years, doing the angel portraits, and the owner of the, you know, and it's upstairs of a shop, and where there was, you know, probably like 20 of us doing different readings, and the owner asked me to bring the deck the next day, you know, just to, you know, told me she wanted to see them. So I brought them and was showing them to her, and she goes, and then sat somebody down in front of me and goes, okay, you're going to do a reading with these cards. And I was like, okay. So it's just like, it's almost, yeah, people, so the angels and guides have really have used other people for a lot for me to put me on the spot.
Yeah, sometimes you can't run away from them.
Yeah. Oh, I tried to. I tried to. So it's just been an evolutionary process of, yeah, a little bit at a time.
Yeah. Yeah, I totally understand that process of evolution on it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and even, you know, the angel portraits have continued to change and evolve. You know, sometimes at first, sometimes I would just see one wing. Sometimes I would see more of, you know, the closest I ever saw to seeing a human face was seeing like a profile. And now I every single time see them in, you know, full physical form, always with the arms outstretched, always ready to exchange energy or embrace whenever that is needed. I always see, you know, their wings, or what we think of as wings. Beings of light really don't need wings.
Right.
And that's just what the name that we have put on them. And even in the last year and a half, I've started seeing Some sort of light language is the closest I can call it. It's, and it usually starts at the throat on the drawing and then literally just drawn down through the center of the body. And and I've been told that it's a message from the angels to the higher self. So it's not something we need to consciously understand.
So I have a question for you, if you don't mind. Just
Sure.
kind of curious. So if you haven't been, like, I guess commissioned would be the right term, by somebody to do an angel portrait, are you ever just in conversation and you just see an angel, or even like a band of them, or like their spirit team? Like, do you ever like get overwhelmed with them?
At first I did. I did. But over time, I learned to what I kind of refer to as turning the volume down, where I still see them, but it's more like they're balls of color that's just constantly moving. And then when I sat with someone with the intention of doing a portrait and having the permission to do that, whether it be in person or from a photograph or through, video chat like this, then just one will step forward and take shape and define color. But they don't even do all of that at once. They usually show me like what color paper I'm supposed to use, and then what color the body is. And then, once the body's nearly done, then I'll start seeing what colors are in the wing, the wings. And it's really almost then like when I'm setting down to start to draw the wings, it's almost like my hands, get pushed to make different patterns. And the wings are like fingerprints. No two have ever been exactly alike. Have I seen similarities? Yes. Particularly with twins. Fingerprints, no two to be exactly alike. And sometimes I'll see other things like a breastplate means that that's your main guardian angel, the one that's been with you not just this lifetime, but all of your lifetimes in physical form. And it doesn't mean that other angels haven't been with you multiple lifetimes. They could be. But just the one has been with you all of your lifetimes in physical form. And I could go on and talk about angels for half an hour, and that's not the discussion this evening. So
I feel like in listening to you and watching you talk about, it's like I can truly see that it so connects you back in with your child. That child that you were when you had those near-death experiences, all these beautiful angels. I can just see it triggering that, and that's that sense of play for you. And I'm guessing because a lot of people have whatever their mission is, or whatever their path is in life, what brings them true happiness, it connects inside of them back to that element of that sacred, wise, and playful child, which is what keeps you. Because Amber, I know that you probably feel the same way too. It's like when we're working and we're with our client, or a student, or whatever the case may be, that's what brings us the most happiness and joy. And so it brings through us that connection back to that playful state of mind, which is intrinsically our health, right? Like as a human being. And it keeps us anchored in that place of joy and that space of gratitude and divine love, right? And even divine compassion. So I can see that in both of you guys when you talk about.
If for anybody that's really searching for their purpose or their true meaning in this lifetime, it's not always this big grand thing. It can be, it's whatever it is that brings you true joy. It can be going and sticking your hands in the dirt and gardening, but that can be a gift that you can then teach others.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Yes, I call it what sings to your soul. Like that's my term that I use.
And
it can be anything.
And it can be sometimes it is what it is that you dreamed about being when you were a kid. Sometimes it is that.
I've picked up the harp and I'm starting to learn that as well, because that's something that I've always been drawn to as well. So yeah.
It fits in with what you're doing.
Yeah,
Well,
but That fits in with the, things like the Solfeggio frequencies, because when you get down to it, everything is just frequency. An atom is an atom. It's what frequency it's vibrating at. So, bringing in a different frequency into somebody's energy field can be so healing.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. Yeah, talking about the childhood, what you had said about a lot of times we find that it harkens back to what we wanted to be as a kid, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I grew up in a really volatile home situation, and I spent all of my time down in the woods on the mountain where I grew up, and that I connected really strongly as a child with the fairies, the elementals, right, that were down in the woods, the trees, the creek, the star beings, even. Like, I had this feeling when I looked up at the Pleiades, and I didn't know what it was. I mean, this is long before, I just knew they were stars. I didn't know anything about, like, what they were really, because, when you're that young of a child, everything's still a mystery to you. But I just felt this warmth from there and this home feeling. But that was my refuge, was being down with what I considered my family and my friends. And that was just where I was at all the time. They listened to me, right? And it was so funny because I remember there was this circle of hollowed out trees in the middle of the woods. And that's where I guess, I didn't really know them as fairies as a child. I didn't call them that. I just knew that they were who they were, and we were having prayer meetings. And what they were doing was they ended up teaching me, and then they were learning from me too. And it was just interesting because they were teaching me how to pick up these frequencies that we're talking about in nature. Well, as most of us, like you guys were talking about, you can't talk about these spiritual experiences around the adults around you that don't get it. It scares their pants off. It's not what they're used to, and they themselves were taught as a child, don't talk about that, or honey, that's not real, that's make believe, and well, you need to check out of that and come live over here, essentially, in so many words is what they're saying, get back into reality, telling you that it's not real. And worse, even I know sometimes it would resort to physical punishment, if there was too much insistence on my behalf about the existence of things that they couldn't see. So there's a lot of misunderstanding around that. But my brother Brian got killed in a car accident when he was 19 and I was like 11. And my mom was always religious, but we finally, mom had tried for years to like make our family go to church, and then it was that incident that made my dad go, okay, fine, we'll go. Well, of course, I love church because I was looking for connection to the spiritual, but I had already lost a little bit of my connection that I had with that realm, so to speak. But getting into church did it for me. Like, that cut off anything that I had. And so for many years, and this is the story with most human beings in one form or another, it doesn't have to be this exact story. We get cut off from it, right? So we get cut off from all those ways of connecting with the spiritual that we did as a child, that came naturally to us, that was inherent to who we are coming into this world. And because they have their structures and they want us to live right in their pattern and follow their teachings and go to church or whatever it is, it doesn't matter. Go to school and study and keep your nose in the books and get straight A's. It really doesn't matter. There's numerous ways, as we all know, in which we get programmed to live in this third dimensional world and live and be in the world, right? Live in the world and be in the world. So the thing is, though, I always had a connection with my mom's family. Were healers, right? They were mountains. I was raised in the Appalachian Mountains, and in the heart of the Blue Ridge Mountains is where I grew up. But it happened on both sides of my family have this mountain healing, and they're referred to as granny healers. So my grandmother, my mom's mother, Elizabeth, you would have never called her a witch or even, probably a healer, without her getting, she wasn't the kind of person to get angry, but she would have certainly have, oh no, honey, Jesus is the ultimate healer, or you certainly wouldn't have said the word witch around her. You probably would have gotten smacked. But anyway, so all that to say is that there's this line of healing that came through. And my mom did it to me. I got a little story on my website about it. How, she took warts off of my hands one time. She said nothing more than a wash rag and a hush prayerful chant, right? So there's this Appalachian magic that I refer to, and it's, it comes from the natives of the old world, that the Celts, and going all the way back, way far back, like before in our current history that we know with the Romans and the Greeks. Like, I'm talking way many thousands of years ago, before we were, our own indigenous ways of being were taken away from us, right? So, being that I had never really lost that connection because it's in my blood and my bones, I mean, just part of who I am. But I kind of forgot about it as I got away. And I do remember, though, the first job I ever had in alternative healthcare was I was working as a chiropractic assistant, and his wife was a massage therapist. And the first time, and you got to remember, I was like maybe 18, maybe 17 or 18. She put her hands on me, and I literally had an epiphany, like the classical epiphany that you think of, where you see this big bright white light and like maybe doves flocking upwards or something like that, and like a voice, and it was literally like this epiphany that being a healer, putting my hands on people to heal, was part of what I was supposed to do. That it was a soul calling for me. And I lived in a place that was, and I know that you find this everywhere, but especially in the Appalachian Mountains, here, we live in the Bible Belt of Bible Belts of Bible Belts. And, for me to say, hey, I really want to be a massage therapist, that was hard. And at the time, I was married to somebody, and of course my family too, including my father, did not approve of that message. They were like, they questioned me and ridiculed me, like, why would you want to do something like that for a living, making a reference to a massage parlor or something like that. And they didn't understand. They didn't understand that that was like something that I didn't have the language at the time to tell them, well, even at the time, I could have said the Holy Spirit called me to do this, right? This is something I feel like I have to do. It's not just something I want to do. But that marriage, after a few years, ended, and I moved to Asheville, and I started going to massage school because I knew right away when that marriage was over, I knew right away what I wanted to do, and I moved to Asheville, North Carolina, where I went enrolled in massage school. And for a little country, a mountain girl, to be suddenly around all these people from different cultures and backgrounds and belief systems, it was wonderful for me because I was exposed to all these different things that I didn't know, and they were so interesting to me, and I got to explore all of that realm for the first time ever. So being on that journey, being a massage therapist, and felt like I was really living my path for many, many years. And then met somebody who moved up here to Tennessee. I live in a different part of Tennessee now, but it's still in the eastern part of the state. But I had a day spa that opened and it got closed. That was a great big trauma for me. I actually I didn't start it. I took over a massage school from a lady that started it in Clintwood, Virginia, moved it to Bristol's Appalachian Institute of Healing Arts, and I actually had that massage school and had students enrolled when I got sick and got put in the hospital with the near-death experience that I had and the severe illness that overtook me. That was, as you guys know, in 2013. And so, you guys can go, and I'm not going to go over the story of the near-death experience, really, because that is a story unto itself that any one of us could probably sit here and talk about near-death experience work hours on end and never be done. But anyway, it just with my own personal experience, I was shown all of these different timelines at one point of it was when I was getting ready to return after my entry into the void, and then being the oneness and the I am presence, coming back through the void. I met a I don't have terminology for who they were. But the first time Laura interviewed me was the first time I figured, or I mean, I didn't figure, but I found myself having to come up with terms for who they were. And she was like, well, were they a collective? And I was like, well, sure, we can use that word, because I really didn't know what else to call them. But they were light beings, and they had no form and no shape. They were just an essence of pure love and light. Is all I know how to describe them. They weren't beings at all, really. So I don't have vocabulary. So moving on. They showed me using, it's not telepathic communication either. It's something completely different. You guys know what I'm talking about, having that your own experience. They showed me all these different lines of timelines, and I could see everything, and I could see the result of all the decisions that I could make, and I could choose to be on the path that I'm on now or not, essentially. I'll just put it that way. And I made the decision to come back, because I could have stayed there. I could have stayed there in that oneness and that perfect love and beauty and peace and bliss consciousness, but I couldn't, and I made the decision to come back, so I did. And plus, I knew it was a soul agreement that I had made. Come back and do what I'm doing. But anyway, so as you guys know, I had so much trauma surrounding my recovery, because I was getting such a bleak prognosis that was like, well, you got less than 20% chance of living 2 years, and that's if you get a liver transplant. And I never got a liver transplant, and it took me a year to rehabilitate where I was walking again. I just had so many. You guys can go watch the video if you're interested truly in knowing the whole story. I had so many system failures in the body, and I was in a coma for 5 days and on life support for 2 weeks. And it was months of hospitalization. And when I came out, I still didn't know, if I was going to live from one night, I would say, or time I go to sleep to the next. I didn't know when I wake up. So it was pretty traumatic, just having to deal with that whole thing. But kind of like what you got, especially, I know, Amber, you mentioned it. When you're dealing with that kind of trauma and you're coming out of it, you could have this element of you, right? This is angry. Why did this happen to me? And I did go through that for a very short while. I was mad. I didn't understand it. What I couldn't most understand is if I'm gonna do this kind of stuff, then why are you putting me back in a body that's so damaged that I can't do anything about it? And they started teaching me and showing me, and I just received messages and at that point where I'd been massage therapist, I learned energy healing modality. So for example, I knew Reiki. So I started just doing Reiki on myself and other things that I didn't really understand. I just did what I was being given the information to do to start healing myself. And I did research, and I started learning about epigenetics and the fact that we can heal ourselves using the power of our thoughts and our belief systems, changing our core belief systems about everything. And when I say belief systems, I'm not just talking about your religious or spiritual beliefs. I mean your core beliefs about life, period. That gets into many different territories, as you guys know. So I started working with all that, and eventually just rehabilitated myself, and then I really got back to living. I wanted to just get back to living like a normal life, right? Kind of like, our society today, after what we've been through, all this trauma, we want to get back to the normal life. Well, we don't know what that is going to look like as we go forward. And as much as we might want it to look exactly like it did in the past, it probably isn't going to. This is the kind of thing that it leaves a scar and things are forever transformed, right? And so that was my situation. And so I had to kind of choke down that hard pill of, I'm not going to run away from this. You guys have, kind of alluded in your own way. It's like spirit keeps after you, right? And so here comes Grandmother Elizabeth, the one I was just mentioning to you. the granny healer. And she says, all right, well, you need to get on it. This is what you're supposed to do. And she was there to kind of like give me these reminders, and she would give me these little flashbacks. And I'd have dreams, and if you want to call them the collective, I guess we will, for lack of any other term to call them, would keep coming to my dreams. And it wasn't necessarily that I was running away from the calling. It's just that I really didn't fully understand what it was that I was supposed to do entirely. And so I went to a local, it's like a healing conference type of thing. And there was all these different healers there offering these different modalities. And there was this one lady in specific, Dr. Rachel Mann, and she was offering shamanic energy medicine session. And I was like, what's shamanism? I had never heard of it in my life. I didn't know what it was. And I thought, well, I'll go try that, because they just, hey, you guys, do you know how you get like this really, it's not a heavy feeling, but it's almost like a pushing feeling from your spirit team, right? And it's like, you need to follow up on this, or you need to follow this path, or whatever it is. And so that's what I did. And I went to see her. And when she did that healing session for me, I had this thing that just opened up that connected me directly back to this experience that I had in my near-death experience. And suddenly I just had something just really clicked. And it wasn't a click, it was more like a bomb going off, I'll just be honest. And I was like, well, okay, so this is what you're supposed to be doing, and this is how you do it. So she says to me, she's got a sheet of paper with her classes on. She says to me, well, take this, and if you're ever interested in learning, I teach, and so you can look me up. I'm like, okay, sure, I'll take it, not thinking anything really much about it at the time. I go home, and I'm not kidding you guys, for months, I might as well have had 9 million copies of this one sheet of paper that she gave me, because it would literally be everywhere that I would look. And it was my grandmother. Like, she would pick it up and put it in front of me so that I would see it everywhere I would go in the house. Lest I forget, you need to call this lady. And I'd make every excuse in the world why I couldn't do it. Money. Oh, I'm not well enough yet. Every excuse in the world that I could think of. And then finally one day I just broke down and reached out to her. And all the obstacles I thought were going to be in my way just got moved, like that mountain, right? That mountain that we are promised that we can move, with just that ounce of faith in something. And so that opened up a gateway for me to be able to go and learn. And so I started apprenticing with her, and I ended up doing that for about 3.5 years. And and prior to that, even I had finished up my Reiki, so I was a Reiki master and started teaching Reiki, and that really further connected me in. And like you guys were talking about, I continue on this path of like integrating everything and evolving and growing into what I do. And I'm always the type of person that I want to learn for the rest of my life, and so I'm always finding new tools, right? And like right now, for example, I'm really doing a deep dive on astrology to like learn all the ins and outs of it. Even though it's always been something I'm drawn to, it's a new tool and a new avenue for me to work with that Spirit takes, and they slide it in front of me and go, yeah, but you need to, this is going to be another tool that you can really use. And so I start doing that. And so for me, it's just about, because there's 1,000,001 different pathways that you can choose to be a healer if that's your calling. And I'm not saying that that's everybody's calling to do the kind of healing that we three are doing. But it's about, like the episode, the podcast, are you listening? Are you really actually paying attention to what your spirit guides are having to say to you, your teachers, your angels, the ones that you connect to, deeply well, deeply wise ancestors that come along, that nudge us in the right direction to help us and put things in our line of vision, so to speak. And one of the things I've come to realize that they're not here to tell us how to live our life. We're not supposed to look to them for answers to everything, right? They're there to guide us and nudge us and put clues in front of us as to guide our pathway, or to say, here's this animal crossing your path, and there's a specific synchronicity behind it, and here's what that means. But I've learned from a lot of different people. I've been very blessed and very honored to learn a lot of different paths and traditions, and things like Qigong and Neigong, and like I said, the Reiki, beyond quantum healing, which is a hypnosis modality, and I like it because it blends in with the shamanic journey really nicely. So yeah, I mean, part of my calling isn't just healing, right? My calling is also teaching. And teaching, I would say, is on par with, if maybe even I'm even more now stepping into a teaching role, because I just feel like I'm being called to do more of that. I think there's a lot of people that have all these questions that need to be answered, and they don't have this high discernment, right? Like we've been kind of privileged in a way to, because of our experiences, we have been able to have this wisdom imparted to us about how to move and navigate through this realm of spirit. And that's, to me, that's one of the things that's important to me, is teaching people about sovereignty and what that means. I think a lot of people don't even have an understanding of what it means. Taking your authority back just simply means that you're not going to allow any other person or being to tell you how to live your life, or to tell you how to believe, or to control yourself, your sense of self-worth, right? And all these energy systems that we have, like our chakra systems, right? Like our root chakra is how we feel like we have the right to be and belong in the world and to do things in the world. Second chakra, our ability to create, and our ability to feel comfortable in who we are as a co-creator. And then, our self-esteem may being housed in our solar plexus, and our self-worth and the way that we move through the world with that. And then our heart, right? We don't even need to talk about what that is, right? That's our connection to our high compassion, high love, right? The divine love and compassion for ourselves and for our fellow man. And then our ability to speak our truth, right? But do it through that filter of love, so that we're not sitting there speaking our truth to the detriment of other people. We're speaking our truth in love and just saying, this is what's right for me. It allows us to develop our boundaries all the way up to our crown chakra, and that's our connection to the divine itself. And so for me, it's all about reaching the highest octave of all of those, and especially the lower, what we refer to in, like in traditional Chinese medicine, you'd say the lower dantian, right? It says lower energy centers, lack, limitation, scarcity. You've got three demons, you could even say, the hungry ghost, the frightened animal, and the angry demon. Those are all things that we've got to try to heal and, check ourselves out of as much as we can, and, and be accepting of those parts of those things that actually serve us and being our human, what serves us as far as being human, but not let ourselves be controlled by those forces. And not look to something outside of ourselves for those answers. So I'm sorry about that. I know I kind of go off on tangents there, but that's just talking about me and my calling, and it really connects me back in with my original roots of what I learned as a child, communicating with the natural world, being in right relationship and sacred reciprocity with the natural world. These are all things that really speak very deeply to me, and what I want to impart to other people. So yeah, that's kind of how I got on my path, which, like you guys say, is ever evolving as I start integrating and understanding more, because we get downloads all the time of new information. And it's like last summer at a friend of mine's property, I received what I call starlight energetics, and it really harkens a lot, Susan, to what you were talking about with your stuff, because you were talking about the Solfeggio frequencies, or is it Solfeggio or Solfeggio?
Solfeggio.
Solfeggio.
It's
right.
kind of an Italian pronunciation.
Yes, Solfeggio. I got to remember that. So that's a great education, because I don't think many people know how to pronounce that.
No.
So Solfeggio. So it's kind of like that, and so what I in it. It's something that was a gift that I was given, but I didn't have full understanding about it until the last year. The way that I see these, it's kind of like what you're talking about, Susan, and being able to see patterns. Frequency I pick up, and it's almost like filaments, like energetic filaments. And they contain varying degrees of frequency. And within those varying degrees of frequency, it allows me to have the discernment that I need, because I know whether that's something that's on a lower octave of a frequency or if it's more of a higher octave of frequency. And in a two, if you look at the scientific part of entrainment, where you are having, you know, two machines that are trained, or you put several clocks in a room, right, and you set them and they start doing at different times. They're moving at different speeds at different times. Eventually, they'll all entrain to where they're moving together. That's like a basic law of the universe, entrainment. So I recommend people look that up if you're interested in knowing more about this. But that's just it, is that through what we do as a healer, we were talking about that frequency, being able to really make a difference and bring healing to somebody's life. And the way that you work, Amber, you work with the same thing with the angelics. So anything that you bring to them, it's going to have its own resonant frequency, and it creates healing in their energetic field because of entrainment, because it's bringing those higher frequencies to them, and it's causing anything that's heavy or less than beneficial, that's not in service to their highest good, it's going to cause more of that to fall away or even dissolve, because it helps them reach a higher vibratory state. So I just wanted to mention that too, because that really spoke to me, what you were talking about with that sort of thing, and speaking about being able to see these energetic patterns and things like that, because that's part of what Starlight Energetics was for me, which I could talk a whole lot more about, because that involves the trees and the mountains and water and like the sky and, you know, every element there is and how they work together. And yeah, it gets into really in-depth stuff. What advice would we have for other people who are looking to, like, what questions could they ask if they're not even sure? Because that's one of the things that I encounter a lot, is that people just don't even know. Sometimes well, I want to know what my life path is, but I don't know where to start. Or maybe they've got an idea, but they feel like they can't get to it for some reason. You guys know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, I have people come to me all the time asking, questions like that, and I sit and talk with them for a while and kind of, and asking them questions about what it is. It's like, if you have a day where you can do absolutely anything, but it cannot involve things like technology in any way. You got to go. You're going to go do something, or what is it you want to do? Is it gardening? Is it just going for a hike in nature? Different things like that. Will come out, and sometimes too. I know I've come across people that what the angels tell me is there's something called prayer warriors, where their true purpose really is just to hold energy for people in different situations.
Absolutely.
And to help clear energy when it's needed. Because some of them have this ability just to walk through a room and they just pick up this energy and take it, outside somewhere and then let it go. And people a lot of times that particularly like to spend that time in nature are very, very good at that.
Oh, totally.
Because they'll just pick up all this energy, and then when they get that time where they can go for a hike or they can go stick their hands in the dirt in the garden, then they're releasing that and allowing it to be cleansed.
Yeah, it's like being a container almost for the energy. They can hold it in sacred space until they can go out and release it.
Yes, not everybody's purpose is to write a book or to be a teacher, or but every role is just as important.
Absolutely. Before we got on here, I was like, it doesn't matter if your calling is heating and air conditioning. If your part of that job gets you connected back in with something that truly brings you joy and happiness, you're in service to people. That's what it's all about. Is that you're
it's finding something that you're good at and that you like doing, but yet at the same time you find a way to do that and put a smile on somebody else's face.
Yes, and Amber, you had a really good way of putting that. What was it you said?
What sings to your soul?
Yeah.
Yes, so I agree. And I would say Well, and I end up teaching this actually. You're right. I mean, we're not all meant to be the same, you know. That's the beauty in it, beauty in diversity. That's what I love to say also, like, because
Absolutely.
we all have, you know, roles we're better at, and in this way we can, you know, help each other, and it becomes just this beautiful, you know, circle, infinite, just circle of helping, sharing. And it's like when you truly step into your, what sings to your soul, that is what you're to share with others. And, you know, as we know, when you do that, abundance comes. And it doesn't have to be money. You know, people may associate that with money. It doesn't have to be that. It's like food just shows up for you, you know. It comes in so many different ways. And so also seeing and recognizing, being grateful for what you have, stepping in your path, you will be taken care of, and somehow you just are, and recognizing that is important. And I would say the first thing, because this is actually what I end up teaching, the first thing, and you're right, I didn't ever think I was going to be like a teacher on like take on this role, but I just, you know, I was drawn and pulled, and I created this course in 2 weeks by guidance, divine guidance. When I set up my website, I had this online course, and you're right, you know, I'm writing this. My whole website was guided by the angels. Like everything was, you know, I was in the trance and I was doing it. And I look at this, I'm like, I don't know what that is. And here we are, like, what, 5-6 months later, maybe even more, and I developed the course. They're like, okay, now it's the time. And now, you know, every time, you know, I get drawn to things, and it's that too. And I'm gonna go into this because I had pulled the card and they said you'll know when it's ready, so go with the flow and let it happen. Just listening, going with the flow, like actually feeling and allowing the flow to come through. And that comes from, usually you're able to let's step back here a minute, find what it is you're supposed to be going into, paying attention. But it's exactly that. What did you love when you were a child? That's almost usually where you're going to find a lot of your answers. Like, did you see things? Did you see things always when you were a child? And what did you see? What made you feel good? Was it music, art, drawing? But, you know, then we're told, you know, when we're older, well, you can't make a living doing that. You can't do that. And so, but really, you know, so we were taken off course.
Tell Susan that.
Oh, I was told that many times, and my mom still looks at me sometimes going, I don't know what you're thinking, girl.
Well, and see, look, it works. Somehow we're taken care of, like divine, the universe takes care of us when we step into our mission, our path, where we're supposed to be, how we're supposed to be spreading that. Like, we just end up getting taken care of. And it's owning who you are, like what that thing is, that, and it could be different things, you know, there are different things that can always keep coming in and you learn more. But there's something that usually pulls people, or they've always had, you know, a certain gift. And what it might be, hearing, you know, I could always hear and connect with I'm a channel, like, and I have been, I was born that way. But there are people, you know, art, that they're beautiful drawers, like you, Susan, like you have that. Music, people who can just connect through music. I mean, there's so many different ways. Even like a man, I mean, I'll bring up an example, like painting a car. If you love cars, you could be doing beautiful art on a car, you know, building a car. Like, there's so much building, you know, house, you know, those are beautiful artsy things. Whatever sings to your soul is that, and that's, you know, it, like, and you've shut it out, but it's there.
You know, I always, here lately especially, I've been getting this message, and it's so true. It's just a no-brainer, but sometimes we don't see literally the forest for the trees. I feel like art, all of life is an art. The things that we love doing that bring us joy is art. And art is what brings healing to the world. So I want you guys to think about the Dark Ages, right? What were we cut off from? They wouldn't allow art. They wouldn't allow, people to write. You couldn't have poetry. You couldn't have music. Anything in the history prior to that was almost blotted completely out of it. So we are disconnected from our own history. We don't even know what great works of any kind of art there used to be. And then for a while, as a civilization, we were told, no, you can't do that, or you're a heretic and you'll be burned at the stake or whatever, right? And even if you take a look at our world today, art, which is us finding what sings to our soul, right? Through that joy and that happiness is to live in a state of grace, and that is to be walking in your sovereignty. And if you are doing that and living your joy and living your bliss, and that you're creating art, it doesn't matter what you're doing. You could be, well, we could sit here and name off everything that exists in the universe, because that doesn't matter. That's just a label for what it is that you enjoy doing, you love doing. Art is what really brings healing to the world. And everything, if you think about it, is art, so long as you're doing it with a joyful heart. It doesn't just sing your own soul home, because when you're in that state of grace, right, that state of ease and grace, you're able to, that permeates everybody else around you, because it raises your frequency, and through that process of entrainment, you're affecting everybody else, which is healing. All of art is healing, all of it. Mm-hmm. I don't know what you guys think about that. It's just a message that I've been really strongly lately.
One of the messages I got this week was art is in the heart. And if you look at the word heart, their art is in there.
Our art is definitely in the heart.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yes, wow, that's awesome. Mm-hmm. And then, yep, I drew that one just now, talking, express your sensuality. So that really reminded me of art, all that beautiful expression.
Did you pull a card for this evening as well, Beth? Oh, no, did we lose her? There she is.
No, you haven't lost me. I had a screen dimming thing that came on, and no, but I will. I've got my grace cards right here. Speaking of grace, and they don't have any like, they're just beautiful images with a beautiful saying. And I pull them a lot of times when I'm doing a video on my channel. So we'll see what Grace has for us today. Oh, one fell out, so we're going to use that one. Okay. Oh, this one's called Surprise. Beautiful angels. So she's crowning the other lady with stars. Isn't that beautiful?
Yeah, that is.
It says, keep an open mind. The influence of grace is often found in unexpected places. Keep an open mind. The influence of grace is often found in unexpected places. That's a hard thing to do right now. So much is going on to keep us distracted, right? So I think also not just keeping an open mind, well, keep an open mind to your open heart, right? So there might be something that comes up to you in, like the card said, in the most unexpected of places right now. Like, are you kidding me? I'm finding an inspiration or a spiritual message in this. Well, listen to it, right? What about you, Susan?
Yeah, I just pulled this card from the Solfeggio deck. This is from the Orion set. It is frequency 345, which is opening to change. So it's all about, pulling in the protection free that you need, both physically and emotionally, that's available to you to assist, so that to assist not just yourself through these changes, but to also assist the people, and the planet itself, as we're going through these huge life energetic changes right now. And to actually ask questions, suggest new ideas, to think and grow outside the box.
Right?
Really opening up to your true nature.
Absolutely.
Which is, the true nature is finding your purpose. Yeah, and fulfilling that.
So it sounds like to me we got a good message from Spirit with the 3 of our cards. So stay in the flow, right, Amber?
Yep.
Stay in the flow. Was there anything else you wanted to add to that one? I don't remember. If there was another.
Oh, and then I also had express your sensuality, express yourself. We were just talking about it. So, yep.
And so what is your definition of sensuality? Because a lot of people hear that and they got one thing on their mind. So talk about that.
Well, I mean, look, this is flowing all from the heart. Look at all that art coming from the heart. Oh,
yes, that's beautiful.
And all this flowing. So, I mean, that actually then goes with the flow, right?
Yes.
Go with the flow of expression from your heart.
Yep.
Sensual, that's a loving feeling.
Oh, absolutely. So stay in the flow, keep an open mind to changes.
Yeah, open to change.
Look for the unexpected. What was your card again, Susan, the name of it?
It's from the Orion set. It's frequency 345, which is opening to change.
I'm gonna have to look that frequency up now and play it. My advice on that is for people is, because everything you guys are completely, totally, 100% agree. I'll give you guys an example. My mom and dad split up after a 50-year marriage ended recently. My mom has never had the opportunity to find out who she is. She doesn't know what she wants to do with her life. She's known being a mother and being a wife, and that's it. And her life was riddled with abuse and just hardship, right? So she really doesn't even know what to do with herself a lot of times. And I've had to tell her, help her through some of this stuff. And I'm like, Mom, if you can't do anything else, just go outside by the creek. She's lucky enough to live by one. Or, if whatever you're doing, if you want to go outside, being connected in nature, I feel like it's super important. But if you can't get out there, it's fine. Just find your happy place, if you've got a meditative spot or, whatever it is. And, you can always get a sheet of paper and sit down and just meditate and go back in time. Take a little time travel in your mind and go back to those places and those spaces when you were a child, like we were just talking about. Think about the things that you used to love. Move forward to your teenage years. What were you told that you couldn't do? The things that you had dreams of doing that, well, no, you can't follow that because what Susan said, you can't make any money doing that. Because we hear that, no, you need to have a backup plan because reality. All of those things, it could even be something that you wanted to do when you were in a relationship with somebody and you weren't able to do those because you weren't free to express yourself the way that you wanted to. Make a list of those things. It doesn't matter whether it'd be something that you would do or you would choose now. It doesn't matter. That's irrelevant. So I was telling her to make a list of all of those things, whether or not they're things that you feel connected to anymore. The process is just like what the card says, to get in the flow of letting all of that just come and pour out of you, right? It's that water element of like a waterfall. Just let it flow like a fountain. And then you can take a look at that page with that open mind, because something might come from that unexpected place, and be open to whatever changes you need to make in your life, right? And be open to the shift, because we got a lot of shifty energy going on, and I don't know if it's going to stop anytime soon. So we're recalibrating and rethinking and redoing, and everybody, whether you want to or not, chances are you're having to rethink what you're doing for a living anyway, or at least how you do it, right? Whether you're working from home or, whatever, you're quitting your job because you can't live in a mask anymore because something causing you to suffocate, or I know some people might have like COPD or breathing issues and they can't do that, so you're having to. Sometimes that change is forced and thrust upon us, right? But that's okay. I feel like that there is a certain, I don't know which parable from which you know, I can't, the term's not coming to my mind, but there's like a mantra, I guess you could say, or something from another belief system, I guess, for lack of a better term. It's not really what I'm looking for. This is to embrace change, right? Embrace the thought of change, because life is change. And the more we hold on to things the way that they are, and we get stuck in ruts and we don't want to embrace anything new, that causes us to be stuck and stagnant, and we don't grow, and we get, you know, we get almost debilitated by it. It stunts our growth in every way, spiritually, emotionally, and it's just not good. So sometimes things happen to shake us up, to wake us up, but we can make it. There's a lot of power in our own choice to make that decision for ourselves. But going back to that exercise for Mom, you know, if you're really not sure and you're kind of left in some kind of ruin or rubble, or just a place where you're like, what do I do now? Or what do I want to do? Well, now is the time for people to be thinking about, what do I want to do? Because when you're left with a clean slate like this, you've got powerful choices ahead of you, right? There's a lot of possibility, infinite possibility. And it's up to you how you want to view that, I guess, is what I would say about that. So,
Yes.
yeah, finding that, like you said, what sings to your soul. What sings your heart home, right? If you enjoyed this content, please be sure to like and subscribe so you never miss an episode, and share it with a loved one who you think would really benefit from this message right now. And we welcome your comments, so be sure to leave us a comment below and let us know any ideas or topics that you have for our future episodes. And we are going to be sharing this the first Friday of every month, so you can find that on each of our channels. And we look forward to seeing you next time for another episode of Are You Listening?
Bye.
Bye.
Much
Namaste.
love and blessings. Thank you.